Learn about the strides female entrepreneurs of color are making. Be inspired by their story and enlightened by their leadership, insight, and advice.
Welcome to She Leads Podcast, Leadership Empowerment for Women of Color. I'm your host, Nicole Walker, and this is Season 6, Episode 15, entitled Understand Your Value with Spiceda Jackson. Go to NicoleWalker.net/blog to read Spiceda's bio and learn more about her and her business. All right, so Spiceda, welcome to She Leads Podcast, Leadership Empowerment for Women of Color. We appreciate you joining us today, and we are excited to learn more about your journey, your insight, and your views.
Well, thank you, Nicole, for having me and inviting me. It's so great to be here.
You're welcome. All right, so let's get started by you telling us about your background and what you currently do.
Okay, well, I currently am a CEO of my accounting practice. It's called eXFinancial, Inc. We do business as Tax Plus 365 here in Historic College Park. And we are a full service accounting firm. What we call our accounting supervised accounting. We take you beyond basic accounting and tax preparation. We do taxes. We solve tax problems. We put together financial statements for you to provide to the bank when you're in need of a loan or access to capital, to investors, shareholders. I specialize in due diligence reports. And that's it. We're a full service CPA practice. I'm a CPA. And our target market that I work with is small business owners and individuals.
Okay. Thank you for that. So can you just tell us a little bit about how you ended up in this profession?
Oh, you know what? I have always been an accountant, which is so crazy, right? So at 16 years old, I started interning in accounting. So I decided at that age I was going to be an accountant. I was in a program called Inroads. And with Inroads, they taught you how to get jobs and they train you for corporate development and leadership. That was a part of their motto. And I started interning the summer before I went into my 12th grade year. And I interned with Johnson & Johnson, their contact division called VistaCon, for 2 summers. And then the following 2 summers, I interned with now Bank of America, used to be Barnett Bank. So I've been in accounting for a very long time. I always knew that I wanted to be an accountant. So the funny part about it is, I don't know if you remember the show, Who's the Boss?
I do.
With Angela. Yeah, so I love that show. I don't know what I liked about it. I don't know if I liked the fact that she was a boss and that she had a maid and she had a son. And as a little girl, it never dawned on me that she didn't have a husband, and I wanted her to date Tony. I wanted her and Tony to get married. So I really do remember the show, right?
Yeah.
I was like, when are they going to get together? Like, I was this kid. So she was in mergers and acquisitions, and that was her profession.
Okay.
And so I wanted to be like her. I wanted to be a CEO. I wanted to be a boss. And so when I decided to major in accounting early on, that show was a part of the motivation. It was so funny because I realized that I needed to major in business if I wanted to be a CEO. And I decided that I was going to major in the most difficult thing in the business school, which was accounting. And I knew that if I didn't like accounting, I could always go to one of the other majors, right? Mm-hmm. So I read somewhere that an accountant can do all of the other things, but all of the other majors in the business school, those majors couldn't transition to accounting. So I was like, I'm going to be an accountant just in case, I might need to do it all. So that was back before computers were big. So I majored in accounting and finance because, like I was telling you about my internships. So because of my internships, one of my internships was during the time when banks were acquiring other banks.
Okay.
And during my transition, like my junior and senior year in college, I did what's called business development, which is the M&A department of the bank. And I was their intern, and they basically encouraged me not to get a master's in accounting. They encouraged me to get a finance degree. And she told me that an accounting and finance major can still do M&A. So, and if I decide to get a master's, to get an MBA. So I was an accounting major, and when I graduated from college, it was during the time Barnett Bank was being acquired by Nations Bank. And then the following year, they got acquired by Bank of America. And so I had a job offer with Nations Bank at the time, and they wanted me to go back to school for a year during the transition. And so I had planned to go back, but while I was walking around a job fair with one of my friends, because I had a job, and so one of the local accounting firms recruited me, like pulled me for while I was walking around. At that time, I was student body vice president at Florida State. So I guess she was familiar with me and she knew I was an accounting major. And so they recruited me and gave me a job.
Wow.
And so I ended up working in public accounting when I told my boyfriend at the time I would never, sit for the CPA exam. I wasn't interested in that. I was because I was heading for CEO. CEOs don't need to work at CPA firms. And then he was like, "Oh, well, the reason why you're not going to sit for the CPA exam is because you could never pass it." And I said, "What?" So that challenge caused me to sit for the CPA exam, study for the CPA exam, and pass my CPA exam and become a CPA. So that was a part of my journey. It was so crazy. So I ended up with a job in a CPA firm. I passed my CPA exam. I was living in Tallahassee at the time and decided that Tallahassee was too small. And I wanted to move to a big city. And I had this desire to move to Chicago, DC, or New York.
Oh, wow.
Back then, which I haven't done in a long time, I used to do creative writing, poetry writing, and things like that. And, that was during when Love Jones, movies strike me, obviously, movies and TV shows. So Love Jones was out. And, I had this image that I would be in this cafe in the big city doing this when people talk.
Yes.
So I was young, I was in my 20s, and I actually was studying for the CPA exam at that time. And I started looking for jobs on monster.com, found someone to interview me because I wanted to be an accountant by day and a poet by night. I was going to be a poet. I was going to go, read my poetry in my book and be a freelance writer, which is what I decided to do. And the CPA firm that did publishing had an opening. I actually interviewed for the job and got the job. I took the train to New York, had never been to New York before, Nicole. Never set foot. I had never been to Chicago or I've been to DC, but never Chicago. And so I went to New York. She interviewed me for the job and they offered me the job the same day. And so I ended up moving to New York, working for that CPA firm, which was the accountant for Condé Nast Publications, Advanced Publications. They audited like Glamour, Vogue, GQ magazine. They were the accountants for them. And so I became an internal auditor for them. I did that until you remember Enron.
Yes.
Right? When the whole Enron thing happened. So Enron happened, and I felt like accounting became sexy. And I wanted to, I know that made, we had scandal, the whole profession had scandal. And I was like, oh my God, I need to know what happened with the scandal. Why was there the scandal? And so I made a shift where I no longer wanted to, be this traditional accountant and work for a big accounting firm. I now had the desire to work for a big accounting firm. I interviewed with KPMG, one of the big four accounting firms in New York. I got that job and I quickly got promoted. My appendix ruptured in New York City. I realized I'm a Florida girl. I was a long way from home. And I decided that I wanted to be closer to home and I needed to move to either Miami or Atlanta. And the wonderful part about it was I started looking for jobs on our internal site at KPMG, located what was called transaction advisory services position. They were looking for someone with my credentials and my background. And so like previous auditor, 5 years experience, all of that. And transaction services is mergers and acquisitions.
Mm.
And it was at the firm that I was already at, and the job was in Atlanta.
Okay.
And when I called the lead partner for the job, he was visiting New York on a deal.
Wow.
Yes, my life is so full of like,
I love
I,
it.
I just feel like God is always looking out for me.
Yeah.
And so he interviewed me in this posh restaurant in New York. And he said to me that you don't look like you could be tough, or some kind of way he said, like, can you do this job? Because I was much skinnier than I am now, Nicole. That was like 15 years ago or so, like 16 years ago. You know, the younger me. You know,
Yeah.
I was a little more petite. I had this more little girl look to me, and he's like, "Can you do this?" Because like mergers and acquisitions is very male dominated.
Okay.
And I said these exact words to him. I was like, "I'm no flower child. I totally can do this job."
Mm.
And he was like, I like that. Because I like came back at him, and they flew me from New York to Atlanta to interview. I interviewed actually, even though it was an internal job, I interviewed in secret because they stole me from the audit practice in New York and moved me to Atlanta. And I fell in love with mergers and acquisitions. And with M&A, I did M&A. I quickly went from senior to manager to senior manager, and that was my career in public accounting. I left KPMG. I actually got recruited from KPMG to PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I would never leave KPMG. I had worked on some pretty big deals there. I had done a carve out of Hanes brand from Sara Lee, and BP did their fabrics and fibers division. So I had become what was known as a sell side specialist in our practice. And because a lot of large companies at that time were selling off their less profitable business divisions because we were in a recession.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most people know, but this was before everybody else knew we were in a recession.
Oh.
So this was like in 2006, 7, 8. I was carving out and doing this because these companies felt it, right? Because certain parts of the financial market, I guess, feel the recession before it actually hits the, consumer market, right?
Okay.
And so sell side was a pretty hot deal, and there were very few sell side people. So I got recruited from KPMG to PwC. I actually got laid off from PwC, long story short, because my story is so long, Nicole, you didn't ask me. So, I got laid off from PwC because they really didn't have the work, which was a big blessing because I really didn't like the culture at the firm. I was very much a KPMGer because it was very traditional, et cetera. Ended up getting another job like 2 weeks later at a firm in Chicago, based in Chicago.
Okay.
I finally got my chance to go to Chicago.
Nice.
I realized I'm so happy I didn't make the decision to go to Chicago because it is cold, 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 cold in the summer months. I actually still lived in Atlanta, but they had like a satellite office here in Atlanta. So I was one of the senior managers here, actually with a colleague who I had worked with at KPMG. That was during the recession again, was laid off from there.
Oh, wow.
And I had too much pride to go back to KPMG. No, I didn't want to work for another accounting firm, period. And I knew I didn't want to go corporate, so I didn't know what to do. I had to do something because I had to pay my bills. I was single. Yeah, I had a house, I had to pay my mortgage. And so I started my firm.
Good for you.
And so here I am, 11 years later. This is my 11th year in practice. So I started my firm and I probably worked out of my home for about the first month. And then I moved into a Regis location. We're in our 5th location, our 5th and final location, let me say that, because we bought our building.
Okay.
I'm focused on growing my practice and moving it to the next level. I really want to build a corporation and have Tax Plus 365 be the premier firm that small business owners think of when they're looking for an account.
Okay.
Or whatever their need is. Our primary goal is to work with our clients as their trusted advisor. So as your CFO advisor, and to help them profit with intention, which is what we call our advisory program.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So you touched on a few of the other questions I had while you were talking. So over this whole story, what would you say was a pivotal point for you throughout your journey?
I think my most pivotal point was having a moment at the firm where I got a mediocre review.
Okay.
And I knew that I was a very hard worker. At that point, I had decided I was going to be a partner at the firm and I was going to stay forever. And so that caused me to make the leap from one firm to the other.
Mm,
And if I had never made that leap, and I made the leap for 48% pay increase.
good for you.
But if I had never made that leap, I would probably still be at the firm.
Okay.
And so making that leap was one that made me uncomfortable
Yeah.
because I was no longer really happy at the firms that I moved to, and plus they were trying to grow practices, and so God knew, I think, that he needed to take me through some transitions, so I would be like, no, I'm not going back, I'm not going forward, I'm not going to the side, I don't know where you want me to go. And
Yeah.
so I really felt in my spirit when I was laid off the first time that I should have started my own practice, because I would have people try to give me work and I'd be like, oh no, I don't do side work, right?
Mm,
And I would turn down projects.
okay.
And people would ask me to do their taxes. I'd be like, I'll do your taxes, but you're gonna have to pay me. And so I have always charged for taxes, even my family members,
Yeah.
because I felt like I don't do taxes. I'm a financial statement specialist. But if you really want me to do your taxes, I need to be paid. And so I honestly was an entrepreneur and didn't even know I was an entrepreneur because
Wow.
I thought that I was going to be a partner.
Okay.
And so the firm, when I say the firm, I mean KPMG, they had identified me as a rainmaker. So they knew that I could make money, but I didn't know that I could make money at the
Mm,
time. I
mm,
didn't. And one day I would say, like, KPMG was, I love KPMG, even though I left, because they taught me a lot of lessons. At KPMG, I realized the value of my time.
okay.
I was putting together a proposal. At that point, I was more senior. I never knew what my bill rate was. I discovered that my bill rate was $550 an hour. I was not making six figures, Nicole.
Okay.
Okay, even if I was making $100,000, that means that they were paying me $50 an hour, which they weren't. I think I was making like $90,000 at the time, and which was $45 an hour when you break it down in like the 2,000 hours in a year. But I worked more than 2,000 hours a year, right? So I'm making $15 an hour. you billing me at 550 and I'm not even making six figures. And I literally had a conversation with one of the partners and they gave me a bonus to bump me over
Good.
to six figures. But those were pivotal points in me. First I had to identify, I had to understand my value.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then second, I had to be uncomfortable with where I was to shift into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable and unhappy.
Yes, yes. That's a great point that you bring up, right? Because I think that a lot of times it's like you said, it's uncomfortable to be in certain situations, when things don't come our way. It could be like a woe is me moment. But in
Mm-hmm.
turn, those could be the moments that actually get us to where we should be in life or where we were actually meant to be in life, where we become complacent, we kind of leave well enough alone and just kind of go with the flow, whereby God has so much more in store for us that we are not
Yes.
allowing ourselves to enter into because of complacency or
Mm-hmm.
fear or what have you.
It was so fear for me. I was very fearful.
Yeah.
I remember those 2 weeks between being laid off from PwC and starting at the other next firm I went to. And I was on the phone with a friend of mine and she was like, why don't you start your own practice? And I was like, who? She was like, you should start your own practice. And I said, no, 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 not me. I was like, no, no, no. I just couldn't believe that she felt that. I didn't know where she got that from. I was like, no. But I did say when I walked out of PwC, right? This is so funny. One of the partners was like, bye, I'll see you tomorrow. So, and he was in our practice, but not in our practice. So he didn't know that I was just laid off. So he's like, bye, see you tomorrow. I was like, no, you won't see me. I just got laid off. I was like, he was like, what? I was like, yeah, they just laid me off. And he's like, you seem so happy. You okay? And I was like, I'm totally fine. I was like, rejection is God's protection.
Mm.
And I bounced my little way into my car. And I just knew at that point for me that God was going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I had a job 2 weeks later. But in that 2 weeks, I was being told start a company, and I was like, no, no, I am not starting a firm. I just can't do it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Rejection is God's protection. I really like
God's protection. Yes. Anytime things don't work out, I'm like, girl.
Yeah.
And then throughout my journey, I will say my thing was I knew that I was going to succeed. I never had a moment where I felt like failure was an option, just because I was like, God, if I fail, you're gonna look real bad. So I know you don't want to look bad. Even with my account was right sometimes. I'm like, I know I need that money by Friday, so I must be gonna have a client between this and it honestly, Nicole, it always worked out. Like, I can't say I ever had I can't say I never missed a bill. I never missed a mortgage payment intentionally. I might have forgot, but I never missed a mortgage payment because I didn't have the money.
Yeah.
And so it's truly been a really nice journey.
Good.
That I really am enjoying being an entrepreneur, growing my business. And I've gone through some stages of entrepreneurship. I've gotten bored.
Okay.
I've gotten unmotivated. Now I'm in another space where I'm really focused on growing my business so that it can help other people. Of course, we're paying them, but help other people achieve their career goals.
Good. That's awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about your morning routine?
Yeah, I have two little ones. I have a 3 and a 4-year-old. My daughter is 3, my son is 4, Joey and Selah. And so in the morning, I usually wake up about 3 a.m.
Oh.
because I have to beat them up. And I will often go downstairs and try to plan out my day. And some kind of way, I don't know. I really would love to say that I meditate and I pray every morning, although I wake up at that wonderful hour. I don't always do that. Sometimes I get up and work. Sometimes I get up and just have me time. And just that time before I'm a mom, just that time before I'm somebody's wife, somebody's boss, I just take that time for myself in the morning. A lot of times I may create. I may take my voice recorder and start getting things that are in me that I want to share with the world. I get it out. So it's my form of journaling. Okay. So either I'll do a voice recorded journal or I'll write it down and then I'll plan out my day.
I love that though, because like you said, every morning may not be the same, but I do like that you do find time for yourself. And as a mom, sometimes that time has to either be early in the morning or late at night. I saw a meme one time where it said a momsy, like a zombie, but with mom.
A momsy, yes. So my Facebook Live is called Business Convos and Coffee. Okay. Because I need a coffee. And so I was not a coffee drinker. Okay. I've become one. I gotta have my coffee in the morning because that's also my me time.
Yes.
I need my coffee.
Yes. And you need your me time. So again.
Yeah, so I'm no longer a momsy. Sometimes I tell people, I'm like, look, I haven't had my cup of coffee yet. Can you just give me a minute?
I love it. Well, can you tell us about the last book you read and what it was about?
Oh, yes. So I'm waiting on my next book. I'm actually in a mastermind, and The last book I read was called The Flywheel.
The Flywheel.
And The Flywheel.
Okay.
And it is the sequel from Good to Great. But The Flywheel is a short read.
Okay.
And it's one of the best reads I've ever had, I will say.
Okay.
So it's the last book that I read, and it's been recent. And what The Flywheel is about, you see, I had to shift in my seat. Let me tell you what it is. Everybody needs a flywheel. Like every business owner needs a flywheel. It's a business book. And basically, it's like, what are you doing in your business and that you have done in your business? What is the flywheel of your business? Because every business has a flywheel, right? You do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this, and it repeats, right?
Okay.
So in the book, they talk about Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
How Amazon is a company that survived through the recession. And I identified with that because I started my company during the recession, and we're still here, but Amazon is still here too. And Amazon is Amazon. Amazon wasn't always Amazon.
Yeah.
And so they talk about that in this book and how Amazon stayed to their principles. They stayed to what they always do. They make it convenient for the customer. They make it easy for them to order it, right? You deliver it, and the customer repeats for that same experience over and over, right? Amazon has been doing that since Amazon was Amazon. Now their flywheel is just turning faster.
Okay.
So they're making more money.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
It's identifying what you do great, what's making your customers come back to you over. Girl, I've written a flywheel. I write a flywheel for all my clients. From that came out our newest program, our advisory program, which is what I told you is called Profit with Intention.
Okay. I love that. And I love how you're using the book to increase your business and just stay on the cutting edge and keep things relevant. That's awesome.
I love business. It's business combos. I love business combos. As you can tell, I like to talk, and I love and so, I just love business. So like lately, a lot of the books that you'll find that I read are business focused because I'm really focused on not just having a business, I want to have a corporation.
Okay. I love
And so I believe that corporations are businesses that outlast their founders and businesses that really change the lifestyles of their employees. And I'm getting so emotional about it. That's what I want to do. So I feel like that's my why, and that's my purpose outside of my kids. Because you have kids, and my kids may not want to lead an accounting practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it will be okay because this is what I wanted to do.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is what I did. This is what I would have built, and then whatever they want to do, I want them to do it.
Yeah.
And then, at that point, we give the company to the shareholders and they can take their shares and go. Because that's what we should be aiming for. We shouldn't aim for businesses that our kids can work in, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
We should aim for businesses that our kids can get dividends from.
Yes.
And they don't have to work in.
Yes. I love that. Great point. So tell us a little bit about your toughest struggle and how you overcame.
Well, my toughest struggle actually has been staffing, because we're a professional services firm, and just making sure that you have the right people on your team as a small business owner who actually see the same vision that you see for your company.
Mm-hmm.
That has been my biggest struggle. It's been my main source of hurt as I go through this, the journey of entrepreneurship, because it's almost like you mentor people sometimes and it doesn't turn out the way you may have wanted it to turn out, right? Mm-hmm. And, like sometimes our staff are kind of like our kids. So you're like, but I wanted this for you. And they were like, no, but I wanted this for myself. So, and I can identify with that, because a part of my career and a part of my journey to where I am now is being in the firm, and the firm wanting me to be a buy-side person. I wanted to be a sales-side person, and then I was hurt, and then I left, and and now we're here. So I get it.
Okay, all right. I like that. Do you have any resources to recommend to the listeners and tell us about how you use those resources?
Okay, resources. Y'all need an accounting system.
Nice plug.
You're welcome, Jordan.
Right.
I firmly believe I do. I feel like the biggest thing, because most of the audience are entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I think every business owner needs to be able to keep up with their numbers.
Yeah.
And so having a good accounting system, I'm not going to plug one or the other, but having a way to keep up with your numbers so that you can profit with intention. I think that as business owners, having a job is just not good enough because we've created jobs for ourselves. Like I created a job for myself. I didn't want to go to another firm. So I created a company, which I created a job for myself. So I think that just making sure that you're able to identify the apps that help you connect with your clients. So have a great CRM system
Okay.
so that you're connecting with your client. Have a great accounting system so you're keeping up with your money, so that you're able to collect your money, so that you're not running behind your money, so that you're not working for free. Because a lot of times, as we've chosen businesses, especially when we started solopreneurs, we've chosen businesses because we're passionate about that which we are doing or do. Sometimes we forget about the back office of collecting money.
Mm.
And so that was one of the things that when you transition from employee to employer, you're no longer just automatically getting your check because you did the work.
Mhm.
I think that one of the most important resources is keeping up with your clients and keeping up with your money and having systems that do both.
Okay, thanks for that. I love that. And that is great advice. It's very relevant to the field that you're in, but it is, timeless advice. And sometimes people do overlook it or not necessarily take it seriously. And as a result, your business can't grow to the lengths
Mhm.
that you would want it to grow to, right? So it's definitely well worth it.
Yeah. And and also the one thing I'm working on is protecting my time.
Mm, okay.
Right? Like time blocking. The first 10 years of my business, I didn't time block.
Okay.
And when you're in professional services, it's really easy for you to flow with their emergencies
Okay.
versus carving out time to focus on your business as well. So yeah, I could speak so much on all of this.
All right. Well, I like it. I like it. So tell us your favorite quote.
Really, I truly live by rejection is God's protection. And anytime something just doesn't work out in business or life, you know, keep it moving. It happened,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you can't dwell in it. It happened. It's what happened. You didn't get the job. It happened. You lost the job. It happened. You were laid off for the job. It happened. Now what's next?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you dwell in the rejection or whatever happened, you will never move on.
I love that. And you're actually
Mhm.
speaking directly to me because I still work in corporate. So it's a lot of different things that went on, like even last year into the
Mhm.
beginning of this year, that just really took me to a place that I didn't necessarily like. So keeping that in the top of my mind, in our minds as individuals, is very
Yeah.
important, right? Because we don't know the whole script, right?
Mhm.
We just on a certain part, and the whole script is pretty much, I believe, already written, right? So we just gotta go with
Yeah.
the flow and know that everything is working in our favor. So I
Yeah, you always got to believe that you're in the right place at the right time,
yes,
even when it hurts,
yes,
because
yes,
sometimes it hurts. And
yes.
I've been in places that I'm like, God, I think you forgot about me. I did, because I started my practice single. I was doing this thing by myself,
Okay.
and I was like, Lord, and I went through a period, and being transparent, I just felt lonely, right?
Okay.
Because there was very few people starting to earn CPA practice in Camp Creek Marketplace, paying $5,000 in rent, and had staff, and I felt like I was supporting everybody, but nobody was supporting me.
Okay. Okay.
And people take advantage because you're single and at that time I had no kids, that you can conquer the world because it's you by yourself. And it could be lonely. So I totally get all stages of being in entrepreneurship, being in it alone, being in it in a relationship, being in it married, being in it married with kids. I feel like I can identify at all levels of entrepreneurship. It's very interesting. And I wouldn't trade it for anything else. Anything. I love what I do. I like the freedom that comes with entrepreneurship and the freedom of time, because freedom of time is one of the most important things to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. All right. Well, before we wrap it up, I do have a fun fact question. I love to ask this question because I love travel, so I like to learn about new places. So the fun fact is actually 3 questions. So can you tell us where your last vacation was? What your favorite vacation spot is? And where your next vacation will be?
Where was my last vacation, Nicole?
I don't know.
It's so crazy.
That means you need to go on vacation.
I do, because I can't remember my last vacation. And intentionally, I was like, we're going on vacation. And I feel like we went on vacation last year, but I can't remember. So wait a minute, where did I go on vacation? Ooh. I don't consider going to Florida vacation.
That's funny you say that, right? Because I live in Tampa, and I asked this question at a workshop that I facilitated not too long ago, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, we went to Orlando." And it's Tampa to Orlando, but for some people, that's vacation, right? So I'm not the judge.
Yeah, no, we did take our kids to Disney World.
Okay.
Last year, but my last vacation, we went to Mexico.
Okay.
And what part of Mexico was I in, though?
No.
Just pray for me. You're gonna have to prepare me for this one. Asking an entrepreneur the last time she went on vacation, which is awesome.
And it's important for entrepreneurs. Take those vacations.
I will say my most favorite vacation is to the Bahamas. I love the Bahamas. I love the Caribbean island. I just think it's very, very beautiful. I have not been since the hurricane happened.
Okay.
But I love the Bahamas. I love this little conch fritter hut that like you can get to. I just like the local feel. I like any place with blue water.
Yeah.
Which, we go to Destin or Panama City Beach, or I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. So Florida is not a vacation, but I do frequent there.
I heard Destin is beautiful though. I haven't been yet.
It is gorgeous.
Amazing over there.
It is gorgeous. Me and my husband went there our first vacation. I think that's where my son was born. What was it?
Conceived.
Yeah, he was conceived.
You guys had a good time there.
I should have called him Destiny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but Destin really makes you feel like you've been to the Bahamas. So if you've never been, it's close to Panama City. But for some reason, the water, that blue-green water is just gorgeous. And now the Airbnbs and VRBOs or vacation rentals are popular. They're more convenient. Just get on Airbnb, girl, get you one, and I bet you enjoy it.
Yes. It's actually like 6 hours from here. So that's the long enough away to be considered a vacation, I feel like. So
yeah, it's 6 hours from here too.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah. So, and do you have a vacation planned soon? Where are you going next?
Coming up, hopefully, within the next. If I can't make it this year, I'm definitely going to Africa.
Yeah,
that's on my list. I have not decided if I'm going to take our kids.
Okay.
Or not, but I do want my husband and I both to go to Africa. If he don't go, I'll go with my girlfriends.
What part are you gonna go?
I think I would love to go to West Africa, Ghana.
Okay.
Or even be able to experience the Ivory Coast where the slave trade started. Yep. Because I hear that when you go, you can just feel the ancestors there. And I want to feel it.
Okay.
There are companies, I think Jay Cameron, he's a guy, he'll orchestrate a trip for you. And he's partnered with AfricanAncestry.com to take you back to like the origins of where your DNA.
Oh, wow.
And so I thought that that would be a very interesting trip to do. So that's what I have in my heart to do as my next true vacation. I'll be taking minis, but my real vacation will be to Africa.
Okay, I love that. I feel like with any question you ask people, you kind of get a understanding of just how they view things, and everyone view things differently, right? So for you, it has to be a big thing to be considered a vacation. Some people, it doesn't have to be that big. I feel like whatever floats your boat.
Girl, I try to live my life in freedom. Look,
Yes.
I live my life in freedom. Like one of my quotes I live by, which isn't my main quote, because my main quote is rejection is God's protection, because I think it's important. But I don't live to work. I live to be free. And I don't work for money.
Yes.
It works for me.
Okay. Like you said, like entrepreneurship brings a freedom, right? A freedom to allow us to enjoy our lives, enjoy our time with our kids, have more control over what we really want to do and what really matters to us, right? And time is not as long as we would want it to be, right? So it's very important that we're able to do what really fills us up, be there, be in the places that we really want to be. Yeah, well, thank you so much. I appreciate.
Thank you for having me.
Story, but before we part, do you have any events or any offers to tell the listeners about?
Oh, I do. So you can find my offer at linktr.ee/Spiceda, and that's Spiceda. So it's Linktree Spiceda. And in there, you'll see a promotion say, I want to work with Spiceda. I have a promotion where we have a membership plan that you can work with us for 20% off of our services all year. So you just click on the link.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again, Spiceda. We appreciate you sharing with us and learning more about you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Nicole.
You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of She Leads Podcast, Leadership Empowerment for Women of Color. Please be sure to go to our Facebook page at She Leads Podcast to like or follow us. Also, let us know if this episode inspired you by leaving a comment under the post for Season 6, Episode 15. Thanks. Until next time, be empowered and empower on.